Hello guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and in this video we'll talk about Ichibei in Yamamoto and why Ichibei is stronger than Yamamoto. Frankly, in the past years I have been asked so much about this matter. Who you think is stronger, Yamamoto or Ichibei? And my answer was always, I can't give a full judgment until I see the flashback of Yamamoto and his fight against Yamamoto 1000 years ago. And in exactly the point of, has Yamamoto used the Almighty in his fight or not? Because, in my opinion, that point was one of the keys of deciding which one is the strongest. Because in the last arc, two battles took place for Yamamoto against both Yamamoto and Ichibei. And in the second battle of Yamamoto against Yamamoto, Yamamoto stole Yamamoto's Bankai and killed him. As for Yamamoto against Ichibei, Ichibei would have defeated Yamamoto if it hadn't been for the Almighty that saved Yamamoto's ass. And yes, I know that the Almighty is a part of Yamamoto's power. So based on that fact that the Almighty was the main cause of Ichibei's defeat, I was asking myself, has Yamamoto used the Almighty in his first fight against Yamamoto or not? Because it was clear that Yamamoto has the Almighty 1000 years ago. If he was actually used it, it would give us another new perception about Yamamoto's strength and how he was able to defeat the most powerful ability in Bleach, which is the Almighty. But in fact, even before the anime was released, there were some indications that Yamamoto did not use this ability despite having it, and I have clarified this point in several videos. However, I was waiting for the anime to resolve this point. I wanted to know how the battle took place, and this is what we got in episodes 6 and 7. Kubo put original scenes for some of what happened in that battle. And yes, it became evident with evidence that Yamamoto hadn't used the Almighty in that fight. But what I didn't like explicitly is the inclusion of Sasaki in that fight. And this is my personal opinion, and I'm fully convinced of it. Even if you told me that squad of Gote 13 was just a group of killers who didn't care about pride or anything like that. No. There were several scenarios to involve one of the captains in that fight instead of Sasaki, who appeared throughout the story in the corner and received a punch from a boy who was back then 15 years old, and only a few days have passed since he learned the basics of Shikai. So that addition didn't impress me, and it confirmed something else for me, that the perception that I had about the old man was not correct. Yamamoto, as it turned out during that fight, he didn't fight Yamamoto face to face, but in the end of the fight, it was all against one person and ended with a stab from the back by Sasaki, and Yamamoto used the East Zankanotachi and the fight ended. So the conclusion of that fight is that Yamamoto didn't use the Almighty. Therefore, here the big differences appears in how Yamamoto fought Yamamoto and how Ichibei fought Yamamoto, knowing that this is not the main reason for determining who is the strongest, because there are other factors that we will talk about them. But Yamamoto can be the basic support to measure the strength of both Yamamoto and Ichibei. For example, Yamamoto, whether in his first or second fight, used Bankai in order to try to defeat Yamamoto, meaning that defeating Yamamoto by Ryujin Jakka at the Shikai level was not possible, and we saw how Roid was able to keep up with Yamaji when he was fighting him with Shikai, while Ichibei, using techniques far from his Zanpakuto, was able to harm Yamamoto. But when Ichibei used Ichimonji, Ichibei has defeated him, and the Bankai was just the closing chapter of the battle, knowing that all Yamamoto's attempts to steal Yamamoto's power were in vain before using Almighty. And through their fight, whether Ichibei and Yamamoto, it will be clear shown to you the extent of Ichibei's superiority in terms of diversity of his power sources. For example, if we speak about physical strength, Ichibei as a character can be said to have a kind of immortality. A character who appeared in the original world and remained alive until this moment without any change in his features of his appearance. Imagine with me that Yamamoto used the blood vein aufheben and he wanted to control half of his body, but Ichibei strangled Yamamoto with his bare hand and perhaps punched him in this panel and made his appearance in this humiliating form. all this only with his own hands. While Yamamoto may have a good physical strength when he was young, but the age factor affected him greatly, unlike Ichibei who doesn't age. In the teacher book, Kubo gave Yamaji 60 in terms of physical strength, and Kubo said about that Yamamoto's progress in age made his physical strength diminish, and this may explain why the old man was exhausted after using his Bankai in front of Royd. That's why the physical strength goes to Ichibei. In terms of Reiatsu, it can be said that both characters are distinguished by powerful Reiatsu that enable to influence their surroundings. Yamamoto's Reiatsu can materialize as fire at the level of the Bankai, and this Reiatsu was able to make the Bankai's heat cover the entire Soul Society and literally make it like a piece of hell, while Ichibei also possesses a mighty Reiatsu, which is represented in the fact that all blackness is considered his strength, and by awakening Ichimonji, all the blackness of the world becomes under his hand. For this I might say that Ichibei's Reiatsu will be stronger than Yamamoto, and regarding the Kido, both characters are considered masters in this field. But from what I can see, there is an advantage for Ichibei, as he used the Hidden Hado, which broke the BLEACH of Yhwach. We don't know whether this Hidden Hado belonged to Zero Squad only or even the rest of the Shinigami, but I think this Hado only belongs to the Zero Squad or maybe to Ichibei specifically, because Aizen didn't use it, Orohara didn't use it, only Ichibei. For this I say that even the Kido point goes to Ichibei. And here we pass to the power of each one of their Zanpakuto. Honestly, if we had to talk about the offensive destructive power of Bankai level, I find Zankai no Tachi to be the strongest in this side, especially since the Zankai no Tachi gave Yamamoto ultimate defense and offense. The Western Zankai no Tachi covered the old man in flame that reached temperature of 15 million degrees, so how could anyone even get close to him? For this reason, the issue of how Ichibei's ink could affect the Zankai flames has always been raised, but I see the matter from another angle. It is true that it will be almost impossible to approach or harm the old man while he is covered on those flames to such degree. But don't forget that Ichibei knows all the names of the Zanpakuto. He knows all of its secrets and of course even its weaknesses. He's the one who taught Rinji half of his Bankai's name, and he's the one who prevented the Osan Zangetsu from pronouncing the name of Yhwach or maybe Zangetsu, I don't know. So therefore, I think that Ichibei, even if this matter may constitute an obstacle for him, and I mean here the power of Bankai, then Ichibei can use his knowledge to neutralize the Bankai's power. So for me, despite the power of Yamamoto's Zanpakuto in attack, which may be stronger than Ichibei at the Bankai level, but in the end, the overall strength of the Zanpakuto tends in favor of Ichimonji, because what makes Ichimonji very special is that it has abilities before the Shikai release. Ichimonji is able to cut names, and Shikai removes the names and totally their strength. And here we come to the point of intelligence, and this point goes directly in favor of Ichibei. It is enough that Yhwach classified Ichibei among the 5 traits because of his wisdom, and removed Yamamoto from the list because of his pride. And Ichibei considered the true history of the Soul Society. It is true that Yamamoto's age is measured in thousands, and he is the one who founded the Shinigami Academy and the Gotei 13, but Ichibei, on the other hand, lived hundreds of thousands of years and is considered the leader of the Shinigami. For all these reasons, Ichibei can truly be considered the strongest Shinigami with qualitative Shinigami powers, such as the ability of Zanpakuto and the ability of Secret Hado, as well as the vast knowledge that he possesses. So guys, tell me what you think and see you in my next video.